And the result of thinking the thought that she is not doing what she should be doing, or she doesn't listen, or she should be doing X, is that then I don't listen to her. And I don't do my due diligence as her parent in being curious and compassionate. And listen, I am offering you my example so that you don't use the thought work that I'm sharing as evidence for or against how good of a parent you are. I just want you to know that that is a normal human reaction. Nothing's gone wrong when you think those thoughts. Nothing's gone wrong when you feel frustrated or resistant. Nothing has gone wrong when you feel those emotions. Okay? I want to repeat that. Nothing has gone wrong. It is normal. Hi, and welcome to the Stethoscopes to Swaddles podcast, episode number 95. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about disciplining kids during the holidays. And while I am very well aware that we discipline our kids year-round, I wanted to record this episode particularly on disciplining during the holidays because, one, we spend a lot of time with our kids during the holidays, and it's also a very busy time of year. And we are surrounded by family and friends and people with opinions about our parenting, our children's behavior. And that can be very interesting times to navigate when we are trying to still teach our children right from wrong, still help them make better decisions. And there's people with opinions about how we should be doing it or why we should be doing it and how we can do it better if we just do the thing that they suggest. So the premise of this podcast, one, I want to not be one of those people that is telling you that you're doing it wrong and that you should do it a certain way. The premise of this episode is to just give you some insights and a couple of mindset shifts when you approach disciplining your kids around the season. Hey, Mama. You deserve a life free of overwhelm and burnout. Welcome to the Stethoscopes to Swaddles podcast. I'm your host, life and mindset coach, Shiro Bergbauer. I'm also a wife, mom, and CRNA. This is the podcast for high-achieving mamas in medicine like you and I. Together, we'll learn how to navigate the ups and downs of working motherhood. If you're looking to thrive in your relationships and overcome overwhelm in your motherhood, marriage, and medicine, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stethoscopes to Swaddles podcast. Before we get started on the discipline topic, what I really wanted to share also is, and I will be doing an episode on boundaries around the holidays, which will be coming out next week, is that there are ways to enforce those boundaries around conversations about your children's behavior. And the way to do that is literally just word it in a way that says that conversation is not up for discussion. And if the person chooses to have that conversation, they will basically be having it alone because you're not going to engage. And you can just communicate that respectfully and clearly and enforce that boundary. So when they start coming up with complaints or helpful suggestions, you can just say, I'm good, no thanks, change the topic. Or, as I mentioned, I will not be discussing my children's behavior, therefore I'm leaving or I'm going to the next room or I'm going to put on my AirPods and listen to music and I will not have that discussion, but I thank you very much for expressing your opinion. I've been thinking about this a lot, especially because this was, for me, it started out around Black Friday. So we had Thanksgiving with our friends on Thursday and then I was sick, terribly sick on Black Friday. Woke up with a fever, chills, muscle aches, was sure I had the flu or COVID, went to urgent care, tested negative for both 2 days in a row. And they were just like, you have some crazy respiratory virus. It may even be RSV. We don't know. Basically, have a good day. My husband and I were trying to navigate entertaining our 4-year-old on the 4 days that we had home while still recovering. My husband was also recovering from a cold. And for the very first time in my parenting journey, I have never actually thought oh, it would be good to have another child. However, during that season, that period when my daughter was needing entertainment and engagement and we were both like sick, I was like, well, maybe a sibling would be great right now. But I also was very well aware that a sibling would be another set of disciplining to do in that moment. What I thought about that weekend was one, I think we all were like exhausted and we were also starting to have cabin fever because we weren't leaving the house. We were just like here trying not to do anything. And I am so grateful for my friends who also like live within 5 minutes of me. But on, Thanksgiving, we had Thanksgiving with my friend and it was so great. I got to hang out with her mom, who was so fun. On Saturday after Thanksgiving, I texted my girlfriend and I was like, hey, are you home? I was actually going to drop off something to her. And she was like, yeah, I'm here. And her son was also home. And I was like, praise the Lord. I put my kid in the car and off we went to my girlfriend's house. And her son and my daughter are really good friends. They had a blast. They played and played and played and played and played and played. And he exhausted her and she exhausted him. And we came home and I was so glad the day was over. And then on Sunday, most Sundays, my girlfriend and I, our daughters are the same age, we'll like hang out, have coffee, and have the kids play. And so I was like, I am on my way. I know it's like 8:30 in the morning, but I'm on my way. We went to her house and my kid got to play and I got like a little respite. So also a shout out to my girlfriend Suki and my girlfriend Junie for being my village and just being amazing friends because I literally don't know how I would have survived that weekend without their support. So, on to the discipline topic. As with any age, different ages bring different discipline challenges. And the interesting thing for me is usually when I experience something of a challenge and I process it and I do all my self-coaching and my thought work on it, most of the time I will have at least one client ask for this coaching on the same kind of topic within like 2 weeks. And literally, when I tell you that I've coached 4 clients this week on disciplining their children of different ages, I'm not even like joking. It was so funny because I could have literally just like recorded one coaching session and shared it with the next 3 clients. But all this to say, one is, I talk a lot about common humanity and that being part of self-compassion. And as I was thinking about that, I was like, yeah, like we all go through these seasons where it's like, oh my gosh, I saw this meme recently and it was like, I try to gentle parent my children, but my children are not gentle childrening. And it is so true. I think that we want the best for our kids and we want to offer them support and take care of them. And sometimes it's just a lot. Like, it is a lot of an ask of a human being to do all of the things. And so for me, I'm very solutions oriented and I always want to step into strategy and action. And I actually paused myself and said, listen, I just want to sit here in this like emotion that I'm feeling right now and decide like what am I feeling and just notice it and see what's happening and then like just kind of see what my mind is offering me. Like, what are the thoughts that I'm having? What is even going on? And then deciding, like, okay, what needs to change? Can I sit with this emotion a little longer? And now let me figure out a solution. Like, I think to give myself permission to do that and do it from a place of self kindness and self compassion is so important because I want to find the solution to help my daughter process her emotions and also communicate and use her words and I use my words. I just wanted to approach this conversation from thought work and mindset. And so if you're new here, I'm just going to kind of touch on what thought work is and why I believe so strongly in like really looking at my thoughts. So thought work is, it's just noticing the thoughts that your brain offers you and just like being willing to question them because sometimes we say things that we announce like they're the news, but actually they're just thoughts and it's important to just like be willing to question them. And I'm also of the belief like it's not only just thoughts, but thoughts are like the foundation for the way we feel and the actions that we take. And so I use a tool called the model to coach my clients, and it was developed by Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School. And basically, what the model gives us a template for is to plug in our thoughts into it. And so the first premise is there is always a circumstance. A circumstance is a neutral thing. It is no emotions attached to it. You can repeat that circumstance in a court of law and you can have evidence for it. And then we have a thought about a circumstance. And a thought then leads us to have an emotion or a feeling about the thought, which then from the feeling we take action or we don't take action, and then we have a result. So circumstances are neutral. Thoughts can be either thoughts that, serve us or don't serve us. And then we can have emotions, which are either comfortable or uncomfortable. And then we take action or we don't take action. So action or inaction, and then we have a result. So I'm going to walk you through just like a model when my daughter is having a tantrum. And this is when my daughter is having a tantrum and I tell myself, she doesn't listen. Or she shouldn't be doing that. She should be doing what I say. She should be doing X. And when I think that thought, I get very frustrated and resistant. And when I'm frustrated, I just want you to just kind of pause for a second and think about it. When you're frustrated, it's very hard to problem solve when you are in frustration, right? And when our negative emotions are high, our intelligence is usually low. So when you're frustrated, again, you're not going into problem-solving mood. In fact, you create more problems in your head. When I'm frustrated, I may yell, I may threaten timeout, I may take away a thing, I may quote unquote offer a quote unquote natural consequence. And so I take that action, right? What I don't do is I don't pause to understand what's happening with my daughter. I don't pause to question my own reaction. I don't pause to ask her what she needs in the moment. And the result of thinking the thought that she is not doing what she should be doing, or she doesn't listen, or she should be doing X, is that then I don't listen to her. And I don't do my due diligence as her parent in being curious and compassionate. And listen, I am offering you my example so that you don't use the thought work that I'm sharing as evidence for or against how good of a parent you are. I just want you to know that that is a normal human reaction. Nothing's gone wrong when you think those thoughts. Nothing's gone wrong when you feel frustrated or resistant. Nothing has gone wrong when you feel those emotions. Okay? I want to repeat that. Nothing has gone wrong. It is normal. However, I want you to think about when we think the thought, our child shouldn't do this, our child should do what I say, our child doesn't listen, our child doesn't respect me. The truth is, none of that is true, right? Our children, at whatever age, 0 to 18, heck, even 26, because our primitive brains are still working, and our prefrontal cortex doesn't actually fully develop until around 26, right? We're working with a very primitive reptile brain. And when a child is frustrated or angry or tired or whatever uncomfortable emotion, right? The very little logic that they've built up to help them function exits the building, right? And that's normal. That is what their brains are supposed to be doing. Brains are braining, right? Now imagine a dysregulated brain being told to calm down or being told what to do, right? Has your spouse ever told you to calm down when you're angry? Did you calm down? I am willing to wager you did not. So to expect a child to self-regulate on command is such a fantastical expectation and also an unfair ask of a developing brain. And I was thinking about this morning, actually, and I actually decided to change the sequence of my podcast because I'm like, I have to share this podcast. And I was thinking, look at some of if you're a nurse anesthetist, listen to this, or if you're in the medical field, I'm sure you have experienced this. Heck, if you're a human, you've experienced this. Look at some of the surgeons we work with. Have you ever seen how they act when they don't get what they want? Have you ever seen how some of us act when we're told what to do by our attendings? Right? I mean, I've seen how I act when I'm in a really bad place and I don't get what I want, and it is not pretty, right? So if it takes an adult a while to self-regulate, how can we expect toddlers to do it in a matter of seconds between us gritting our teeth and yelling out a command, right? And also when it comes to following the rules or doing what we want, right? Remember, even we as adults don't always follow the rules, and we don't always do what we're told to do. And I'm not saying that it's okay to not follow the rules or do what we not do what we're asked to do. I'm not permitting that behavior. But I'm saying if we as adults have not mastered that fine art and we are developed fully in our prefrontal cortex, how can we ask that of a child, right? How can we set that expectation and like make it mean something terrible about them when they don't meet the expectation? Or even making it mean that it's a reflection of who we are as parents when our children do the opposite of what we ask, right? Like we make it a moral issue. It's none of those things. It's a normal event in a growing brain. And sometimes as parents, especially why like we get very triggered when people make comments about our parenting or our disciplining our children, is because we make our children's behavior mean something about us. I want to offer you this. That's not true. It's not something about us. It is just we're learning this art of mothering and parenting if you're a dad. And I wanted to share what I'm embodying and really working on in my own parenting journey is knowing that if I'm frustrated and upset, I can't help my toddler self-regulate, right? And if I keep thinking the thought that she shouldn't act this way and she should do whatever I say and she doesn't listen and she's disobedient and I'm failing at parenting and disciplining her, I can't help her when I'm angry or frustrated because those thoughts give me anger and frustration. So what I'm really working on is reminding my brain, like, okay, she's 4, she's whatever age. If you have a teenager, he's a teenager, she's a teenager. Her brain is dysregulated and I can help her. I can help her. I want you to just think this thought when your child is doing the thing and you are literally about to lose your mind and you tell your brain, I can help him. I can help her. Right? Versus he should listen. He should obey the rules. He shouldn't do what I told him not to do. Right? Because when we think that thought and we feel like frustrated, another feeling that we can have is helplessness or confusion. Confusion and helplessness are such indulgent emotions because it gives the brain permission not to solve problems. It just tells the brain, we don't know the answer, so we're not going to worry about it and think about it. Right? It allows the brain to be lazy and not think. And the brain cannot solve problems from resistance. That is a fact. So when you're resisting reality, right, you lose every time, but also your brain can't go into problem-solving mode. So the thought that I want to offer you today as a thought that you can borrow, adding to the thought that I can help her or I can help him, is my child is dysregulated right now. I can help him. I can help her. I'm the mom. I've got this, right? And this thought creates for me a feeling of empowerment. I feel empowered when I think the thought, oh, I can help her. It's like a no-brainer. I've got this. I'm the mom. It creates empowerment. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, but now he's in the mood, she's in the mood, she's throwing something at her brother. And I'm supposed to sit here and think, I've got this, I can help her, but now I'm mad, right? And I want you to know there will be times when you will just be as dysregulated as your child and you'll lose your cool and nothing's gone wrong, right? Like, remember, if we're telling our child and remembering that our child's brain is dysregulated at the moment, right? Then ours can be dysregulated too, right? And we don't make it a problem that our brain is dysregulated. We're just like, oh my gosh, we're just having emotions like normal people. But remembering too that if we're dysregulated, right, we have to take a little stop, pause, and self-soothe and self-calm before we take further action. We don't have to like take action right away if we are dysregulated, because we may regret the action that we take from the feeling of frustration or anger, right? The other thought that I was thinking about this, because this literally happened to me yesterday, is when I pause myself and I say, I've got this, and I feel empowered, I can take empowered action from a very loving, compassionate place. So yesterday, I took my daughter to a birthday party for one of her classmates, and she was trying to climb on a rock, and she was rock climbing on a rock climbing wall, and she was trying and trying and trying, and she was really getting it, and then she would get frustrated, and then she would like fall off and like get upset. She had also had a really, really, really long day, and so when she like did it the third time, she got very frustrated, and then she was worried that her friend didn't want to play with her, and then she started to like speak very like, I don't know, she's like, you don't like me, and I'm like, I'm not going to argue with that. Sometimes when she says that, I'm just like, okay, tell me more. And then she was like, I don't like you. And she like started crying again. And I paused and I was like, okay, she's dysregulated. I can help her. And the action that I took from feeling empowered was that I said, we're going to go ahead and leave now. I didn't tell her, stop it or we'll leave. I didn't tell her, if you don't stop it, we're going to go. I didn't tell her, okay, that's it, we're leaving. I just said, we're going to go ahead and leave now. And that looked like me carrying her out of the building, she kicking and screaming, me trying to like not lose my mind, me finally getting her in the car, strapping her in the car seat, and then realizing that now I was getting upset. And I sat in my driver's seat and I let her cry and I self-soothed. And then I turned around and I said, okay, we're going to go ahead and go home now. I noticed that you're frustrated and you're tired. And she started telling me she wasn't frustrated or tired. And I said, okay, honey, I know. And we're still going to go home so you can rest. And so I wasn't telling her, oh, you're never going to get to go to another birthday party. And I'm not sharing this to be like, oh, look at me, I got this figured out. I'm sharing this because sometimes when I have done that, the removing out of a situation, I haven't done it from a place of compassion and curiosity for both me and my child. And in this particular instance, I felt like I was really, really conscious about showing up in curiosity and empathy for both of us, allowing me to realize, oh yeah, I'm getting really, really, really angry, right? And helping my child see the emotion that she was feeling in the moment and troubleshooting for that and problem solving. So, and one of the reasons I actually got more inspired to share this podcast episode today was because in one of my groups, somebody was sharing about natural consequence for her teenage son who had repeatedly oversped, and he was supposed to be like, they have a monitor in the car, and she was feeling so terrible. And the thought that I offered her was, she was asking if she was doing the right thing. And I said, you are doing the right thing with the information you have right now, right? And I think when we sit in empowerment and believe that for ourselves, even when sometimes we're like, oh, maybe that's not the punishment I wanted to create, it can be okay for us to just be pausing and like say, hey, okay, I don't have it figured out, but this is the information I have right now. So this is the decision I'm making right now. And to allow yourself to also, when you decide that you discipline your child in a certain way, give yourself permission to be flexible. And I'm not saying flexible with the boundary. I'm saying when you're like, I am a strict parent and this is what I do. And then you make a decision and you start to question if it was the right one. Give yourself permission to decide that maybe it wasn't the right one and give yourself permission to change your mind, right? Because we're not married to our parenting decisions. So you don't have to be like, oh my God, I always do this actual punishment. And so now this is the one that I must do right now, right? And sitting in self-compassion and curiosity, right? When we are compassionate towards ourselves and to the other person, we can be curious and ask ourselves, I wonder why she's behaving that way. I wonder what's going on. I see that I'm also reacting in a very interesting way. Like, what is going on with me? And that allows us to get into problem-solving mode. I may have mentioned earlier, I just finished listening to Joanna Faber and Julie King's book, How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen, that I will link in the show notes. But I wanted to offer you some of the reminders as tools for handling emotions when our children are having these outbursts. And the first tool that they offer is acknowledging feelings with words. So it can be saying to your kid, it can be so frustrating when your sister takes your doll. I know you were looking forward to going to that party. How disappointing. For older children, you can acknowledge their feelings with writing. You can say, oh, you really want that doll. Let's write that down on your wish list. You can also offer them acknowledging their feelings with art. So you can say, you seem upset. So in our house, I like to use mad, sad, glad because they're easy emotions and they rhyme, right? You seem mad or sad, right? And you can draw a stick figure, right? Or you can be like, oh, you're this angry and like make angry lines or crumple paper. The fourth one that they offer is giving your child a fantasy that you cannot give in reality. And like, this is actually something I offered one of my clients who her kids like to like delay bedtime. They're playing and da. And I was like, you can just say, oh my God, I wish we had 1,000,000,000,000 more hours to play before bedtime. And then the last one is acknowledging their feelings with almost, quote unquote, silent attention. So it could be, oh, oh, right? Now remember, all feelings can be accepted. Some actions must be limited, right? And my favorite tip from Joanna Faber is sit down on those buts. Substitute the problem is with, even though you know not to throw the toy across the room, it is very uncomfortable when somebody else gets hit by it, right? And match the emotion, be dramatic, allow yourself to be dramatic. And also the most important one, resist the urge to ask questions of a distressed child. You don't like to be asked questions when you're mad or sad, and neither do your kids, right? So it's important to just know that. And remember, you can express your feelings strongly when your child is, if there's a conflict between you and your child, you can say, hey, I don't like you, mommy, right? Hey, I don't like to see brother crying because he was hit by the toy, right? And then teach your child how to make amends because that's how they grow into resilient human beings, right? The most important thing to also remember when it comes to kids and tuning into this is that check in. Are they hungry? Are they tired? Are they overwhelmed? Right? Do they need recovery time? Because none of the disciplining and parenting tools work when there's lack of food, lack of sleep, there's a need for recovery time, the feeling of overwhelm, and last but not least, a lack of developmental or experiential readiness. Our children are not little adults, right? And sometimes we get caught up in that, right? We get caught up in, oh yeah, he should know because he's very responsible when it comes to X, Y, and Z. And that's not necessarily true, right? They're not little adults. They're humans trying to figure out this whole brain thing out. And we too are moms and trying to figure out this whole mothering thing out. So it's okay to give ourselves grace. It's okay to show up in self-compassion for ourselves when we fall short of our planned behaviors. It's okay. It's okay to give yourself permission to be like, yeah, okay, let's course correct. How can we do differently this time? Right? How can we like support our kid? And I was trying to think of something that I learned in Daniel Siegel's book, No Drama Discipline. And he was just saying that, like, for us to parent proactively, one way to do it is halt before we respond to our kids. And when you see your child's behavior trending in a direction that you don't like, ask yourself, is he or she hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Because it may just be solving for that. So, halt. Is your child too hungry, too angry, too lonely, or too tired? And if you start to watch for the beginnings of negative behavior and like, you head them off at the pass, then you may not necessarily need to problem solve for the other extreme of the overwhelm and, the frustration. So just maybe something to just consider is, just ask yourself, like, does my child need to eat, right? Does my child need to just kind of process the anger that they're currently feeling, right? Does my child need more connection or does my child need to rest? And then you can solve for the problems from there. And the last thing that I wanted to share as a tip is something that I learned again from Dr. Siegel, and that is the mnemonic redirect. These are no drama discipline strategies. And what that means is R is reduce words, E is embrace emotions, D, describe, don't preach. We love to preach as moms, right? I is involve your child in the discipline. R is reframe a no into a conditional yes. E, emphasize the positive. C, creatively approach the solution. And T, teach mindsight tools. I will also include in the show notes a link to No Drama Discipline if this is something that you are interested in pursuing. I want to also offer you today, just from the conversation that we've had today, is that sometimes we want to read all the books, and I'm guilty of it. Read all the books, get all the information. And my goal for 2023 for the work that I'm doing, and I would hope that I influence this goal for you, is to help all of us step out of information consumption into transformation, right? One of the things I think is interesting is when we read books, like we're like, yeah, let me read this book on this topic. I need more information. We sometimes forget that we already have the basic information ourselves, right? Maybe it's just we need a little perspective shift or we need to just see things from a different light. But a lot of the times we forget that these books that we read are written by human beings like you and I. And we read the books and then we're like, okay, this is interesting information. So we become this like bank of information and we don't go out in the world and put it into practice, and we don't go out in the world and live in transformation. And what I want to offer you today is it doesn't have to be complicated. Literally, I'm going to offer you these books in the show notes, but I want to offer you that you could just take the thought model that I offered you today and not even the whole thought, just like the emotion that you want to feel when it comes to disciplining your children, and use that and grow from that. You have the information. You're a mom. You have it in you. And I want to remind you of your infinite wisdom. You are a smart, intelligent, high-achieving woman who is capable of creating the results that she wants. And so I really, really want to reiterate that. Let's stop consuming so much information that we don't leave time for transformation. So my goal for 2024 is to really, really create spaces and programs and all the things that focus more on the transformation aspect of parenting and motherhood and marriage and relationships and life and self-compassion and self-worth and what we think about ourselves, focusing so much on that so that you can go out in the world and create the results of the life that you want, instead of focusing on me giving you information, I'm going to create spaces where you can come and evaluate that information and put it into practice and, do practice runs and, run. Just like if you were training for a marathon, you do those runs and you do the runs and you do the runs and then you do the final marathon. And that is my ultimate goal. So stay tuned because in 2023, what did I say 2024? In 2023, I have so much coming and I can't wait to share with all of y'all. I just want you to know that there's going to be other ways to work with me other than one-on-one coaching. However, in whatever capacity you work with me, it's going to be life-changing. And I have shared this before, the 5 ways in which I create the space for you and the value for you to come in here and change your life. 1 is through this podcast, right? So this is a free offering. 2 is being available in the groups that I'm in, the Stethoscopes to Swaddles Moms group, and the primary groups that I'm in are mostly parenting groups. The biggest one is the CRNA Moms group. I go in there and I help give people shifts when they ask questions about things that they're going through. So that is how I, strive to achieve value, and also offering, like when somebody asks a question and maybe they don't want to be super vulnerable, is offering them to reach out to me and we can troubleshoot for that. The 3rd way is through my monthly masterclasses. And these, I call them the masterclass. And we are actually going to have a monthly masterclass with a topic every single first Saturday of the month in 2023. We're going to have a masterclass. I have all the topics lined up. If you are not on my email list, you want to get on my email list, and I will have the link to sign up for my email list on the show notes. These are going to be very transformative. And then number 4 is my paid program, my one-on-one coaching program, where we spent 6 months coaching on all the things, on motherhood, marriage, medicine, relationships, all the things. You get your hour every week to focus on yourself for your self-care and to literally change your life. I am doing an appraisal of my clients' results in 2022, and I am just so proud of each and every one of my clients because they have made epic strides in their life from the power of coaching. And I cannot even take credit for their work. I am just a person who helps them through this journey. But oh my gosh, it has been so incredible. Like when my client last week or the week before sent me a message and told me, we have literally had more sex this month than we did all of the previous year. And I was like, whoa, okay, maybe there's babies coming now. The last but not least, which is coming soon, stay tuned, details are loading, is the Mom Club. This is going to be a membership where I'm going to teach you all the tools that I use with my one-on-one coaching clients. And you're going to get weekly group coaching. You're going to get private podcast modules because I know y'all are not going to sit there and watch videos. Now, there will be videos that you can watch if you want to, but the modules are primarily going to be delivered in a private podcast. And so you're going to get to listen to that, go out in the world, listen again, take action, come to coaching every week, listen to other people getting coached, get coached yourself, transform your life. I promise you it is going to be epic and I cannot wait to launch it. I'm going to start creating a wait list for it, but you just know it's going to be amazing. You're going to transform your life. So those 5 ways are the biggest things that I want to do in 2023. And I can't wait to release them into the world. I mean, the Mom Club into the world, because that's the only thing that I haven't released yet. I want to invite you into any of those. If you have just started listening to this podcast, I want you to go back and listen from the beginning. If you are not on my email list and not coming to my masterclasses, I want to invite you. You literally will walk away from each masterclass changed. Okay? And I want to invite you to join the Stethoscopes to Swaddles Moms group. I'm going to also add the link to that. I invite you, if you want to work one-on-one with me, I have now very limited spots, unfortunately. But either way, if you want to work with me, go ahead and book a consultation with me. If I don't have a slot, the slots come up anyways because some people renew, some people don't. So I'll place you on a wait list if that's the case. And then if you're wanting to work with me in the group capacity, I can't wait to see you in the Mom Club. It's going to be epic. I promise you. It's going to be lit. I'm just working on some final details on it, and then it's going to launch, and you'll be the first to know. I promise. So I know this was a lot today. I want you to know that I think about you guys all the time and think about ways in which I can help you parent better, be a better wife, be a better friend, be a better human being, be a better CRNA, be a better mom in healthcare, be a better mom in general. And I am committed to supporting you on this journey. My life goal is to change the lives of 2,000 women in my lifetime. And it starts with the work that you do. So if you're new here again, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Last request, please, last but not least. Please, 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 please share this episode with a friend. That's the first ask. Second, we're about to hit 100 episodes. I would like you to review this podcast on Apple Podcasts. That's how this podcast gets to so many people, right? We recently hit a milestone. We hit over 20,000 downloads. I don't know what we currently are at, but it is amazing to me that people have listened to this podcast over 20,000 times. It just blows my mind, which means like at least 200 people listen to every episode. So I'm almost 10% of my goal of changing lives. So thank you for your support. Please, 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 please rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. And I will talk to you next week. Bye now. I'm Shira Bergbauer, and you've been listening to the Stethoscopes to Swaddles podcast. New episodes are out every Monday. These episodes are created by me, Shira Bergbauer, and produced by Cassidy Mitchell. If you enjoyed this show or found it helpful, please rate it and review us on Apple Podcasts. If the concepts I share on this podcast resonate with you, or you're ready to change your relationships and mindset, I can help you. If you'd like in-depth, personalized support, I'd love to invite you to apply for my Life and Mindset coaching program. Just imagine you and I every week working together as I teach you the tools to up-level your life. To book your free 1-hour consultation call, go to www.stethoscopestoswaddles.com/consultation. You're doing a great job, Mama. Have a great week. Bye now.